Saturday. Hello, hello. All right, let's see if it's working. It's the first thing we always got to do. Make sure it's working so I'm not just talking to myself for no reason. Oh, yeah, it's working. Woo! All right, good deal. Let me get the chat going. Oh, great. It's working. That's great. Great. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We have some things to talk about today. I got to start the list so that I don't forget because I went and looked at what our number was last week and it was 169. So I have to make sure that I remember that and put that there. I also wanted to just quickly tell you about something. Oh, yeah, sunspot. The big sunspot. But that'll be quick. And then we'll just add to the list as you come in and let me know your hip hop topics that you'd like to talk about. Look at what vibrations you want to look at. So, welcome, welcome in. I'm just going to sit here and chill and wait for you. Get some water. I know, I'm way early today. This is actually the time I'm supposed to be going live every Saturday, and I usually am way late. But we're here now. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the sunspot. And then I know for sure we got to talk about um, the fall off. And actually, let me go and see. Would have been probably 2 Saturdays ago. Trying to see if I can find where we first talked about the. Oh, maybe not here. Maybe it's here. I'm trying to find when we first talked about J. Cole so that I could just grab those numbers. Oh, there we go. Okay. It would have been, I think. Nope, I think that's it. All right. Let me find it so I can grab those numbers. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. I see your little numbers. So I know you're there. Hi. I'm just grabbing some of these numbers that we've already looked at. Hi, Josh. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, let's copy all of this. How are you doing today? Everything good? All right, I'm going to copy this and bring it over for today. I thought we talked about it before too, but maybe not. I don't remember. Oh, whoa! That's big. All right, there you go. Okay. So that. So then but I thought we had another one too. What? When was it? Hi, Judy. Thanks for being here. It's good to see ya. When when did we talk about J. Cole first? Oh, good, Josh. I'm glad that you're doing fine. Fine is good enough. And that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm trying to find when we first talked about the Fallout. Oh, it's right here. Never mind. Just kidding. I found it. Because I wanted to get these numbers too. I didn't want us to have to redo these. I wanted us to just be able to look at them again. So let me grab these. And you can let me know if there's anything else you want me to put on our list for today. Do-do-do, do-do-do. Okay, get all of that. How are you doing, Judy? Everything good? Oh, yeah, we need this part too. All right, I'll come back for that. I'll come back for that part. I'm just going to put all of this in here and then we'll have it if we need it. So that we don't have to like redo numbers that we've already done. Don't mind me. I'm just chit-chatting by myself. Oh man, that's huge. Okay, we'll just put it like that. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough. I know. I know. I know. But it's not polite to it's to not polite to not ask. I know. I know. Nope. There we go. All right. So we want to get. Oh man, we've got two more pieces to get. Talk about this. Whoop. What's that from? That's what's been stuck in my head today. It sounds like someone's entrance music. Paste. Okay. Yes. Yes. Let's talk. Well, that actually is a really good observation because I think it'll come up pretty nicely in once I start telling you like what I was observing vibrationally when listening to the album. I did have to I did have to listen to it again by myself because watching it with you all, your vibrations were so strong. You were clouding some of my judgments. Not a whole lot, but just enough. All right, let me grab this. Man, I forgot we did all this. But this will be good. We'll just grab all of this and we'll already have it. We might not need any of it or only parts of it, but it'll be good to just already have it calculated. Do 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 do. Okay, and I think there was just one more that I gotta go grab. Alrighty then. Oh, do I need to grab this? No, we won't grab that. All right. Okay, so I got all of these numbers for J. Cole and the fall off, so we don't have to recalculate any of that. And I have our vibration from last week, which was 169. I wanted to talk to you about this major sunspot that is wreaking havoc. You said it's the Price is Right. It's the Price is Right music. It's only that part too. Is that Price is Right? Is it really? Come on, don't mess with me. I want to put on here to make sure that we touch on this Queens, New York versus Fayetteville. Anything else that should go on this list for today? I mean, we kind of got everything that like dominated this week, just with J. Cole's The Fall Off. That's gonna mess with me, Josh. You better find something else that I'm singing. It can't be that. It can't just be The Price is Right. Is it? That's gonna bother me. Oh my gosh. You're right. You're right. It's the jumping up and down. Oh no. Why is that in my head? Ugh. It's so crazy. That happens to me all the time. And it'll just be like a weird snippet. It won't make any sense. Oh my gosh. You're right. Okay. Well, whenever I sing it, you can scream real loud and jump up and down. Reenact Price is Right. Come on down. Oh my gosh, that's funny. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about our vibration from last week. So last week, our random number wheel gave us 169. And so we should have been looking for this week. This can't really be a time, but we did talk about it where it could be if it was like the 24-hour clock. So 1609 would be the closest time it could be. And really, the two major themes were all about this ending of cycles or a shift of cycle energy. I think we saw some of that, but we definitely saw this 16 of this tower vibration, because that kept coming up where it was like, all right, things have to change. They're going to change. The tower is going to fall because that is the change that is coming. It's time for it to happen. But are you making the changes within yourself to ensure that you are outside of the tower when it falls so you could be an observer? Or are you refusing to make the changes and staying in the tower where you'll fall with it? The other piece is, oh, let me get a different color, is that we have this 16 a second time, because when we add those up, we get the 16 again. So that's why this tower energy is so dominant here. But this tower moment is dictating what is the next action that we'll be able to take. Because if you're outside of the tower and you're just watching it fall, you're observing it fall, then you are learning the lessons that you needed to learn to get outside of the tower. And now you can take action from this new perspective. If you're in the tower when it falls, so you fall with it, now the actions are having to dig yourself out and still learning the same lessons that you needed to learn. They're just harsher. Because when the tower was up, you could have learned the lessons to be able to get out of there before it fell. But now that it's fallen, it's still the same lessons. They're just harder to get through because now the tower has fallen. So those were our vibrations from last week. At the end of today, we'll spin our wheel again and get another random vibration. But we should look for these vibrations, this 169, 9, and 16 in particular, as we're talking about things that have happened this week. Because we should see those in some of these themes as well. Okay, there's that part. I will go on any game show that allows you to wear sweatpants to be on. Like, how am I supposed to cheer and be excited? And how am I supposed to think freely without sweatpants on? I agree, Josh. That has to be a mandatory rule. All right, so we looked at 169. So this sunspot, we've had this very big sunspot. So backtrack just a little bit. We've had, and I've talked about several times where we've had a lot of solar flares that have been coming in. And yes, this relates to the happenings of hip hop. We'll talk about it. So we have the sun, which is like our major energy source. And when there is a sunspot on the sun, it emits solar flares. And so then, that looks funny. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. And so these solar flares come down here to Earth. Here's Earth. And now these are vibrations that the Earth and all of us that are on the Earth now have to contend with. And what this does, these solar flares, it's like, you know, if you take like a balloon and you like rub it against something and then it becomes charged, it's like charging up our atmosphere. And so then we can feel, and really the Earth as a whole can feel charged, like more full of energy. And so we see a lot of times when we have a lot of these solar flares, that people are either like extra excited, they have extra energy, or it's the opposite, that they have less energy because the energy is not flowing. through their bodies very well. But also for the earth, we see usually a lot of earth activity. So we see volcanoes, we see earthquakes, but usually it's the weather. We see lots of weather. And so we've had these solar flares happening for about almost a month now. And you can see when they come in. So thinking about hip hop in particular, where we've seen like something has happened and then it's like whoop, charging it up again. And then it kind of quiets down. It's like the charge goes down and then whoop, charged up again. So it's not consistent. That's the behavior of like these solar flares. And that's the behavior of these solar flares in somebody's body and in their behavior. What we have right now is we have a very large solar flare or a solar sunspot. So we have a sunspot that is unusually large. It does look like it's getting a little bit smaller as it's turning towards the earth, but it's still pretty big. And so there's scientists are looking at it and wondering, could this mean that we'd have some pretty big solar flares that could hit the earth? This sunspot has been labeled sunspot 4366. And so if you think about for the last month, we have seen this 66 a lot. 66 is the numerical vibration of the word freedom. So all of this talk of freedom and what freedoms we have, what we don't have, infringing on freedoms, all of those things are all wrapped up into this. Also, 66 is the numerical vibration of the word happiness. So any of these discussions or thoughts around what makes happiness, how is happiness defined? And we've seen this in hip hop happening also, like what do you like and what don't you like? And it's been like very much up and down. But this sunspot, if it emits any really big solar flares, these are the vibrations that are going to be hitting us. Hi, Tiff Tiff. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So they look out for these themes because this solar sunspot is activating this. Also, if we add these up, oh my gosh, I can never choose a color. So if we add this up, so let's look at this two different ways. So let's do 43 plus 66. We'll put that up here. So 43 plus 66 gives us 109. And then if we just add all the single digits up, we get 19. So what this means is that we have these themes, these vibrational themes around freedom and happiness, but also, and this is where it really relates to hip hop, it's going to bring up a lot of this energy of 9, which is around the shift of feeling that shifting, that changing within hip hop, and shifting and ending in a way that's going to allow more new to come in. So new ways of doing things, new thoughts, new music, new art forms, new opinions. So as we see this sunspot move towards facing Earth and watching how it can impact Earth. I'll keep you updated if we do get some solar flares coming. But if we get some solar flares hitting, we should see a really big jump in the discussion of shifts and new, especially around these themes of freedom and happiness. Also, if these solar flares shoot off, then there's a really big opportunity for a lot of new energy. So I know this week there's been discussion about when we could see new music. We saw some new music this week, but particularly people are talking about like Kendrick Lamar's outfit at the Grammys and how that could indicate new music coming through, new project work. So this sunspot and the solar flares from it could definitely charge up that conversation. Could be the jump start that is needed. It's okay, Tiff Tiff, you be you. I appreciate the respect. So this is like what was interesting about this sunspot. So also, for anybody that doesn't remember, 66 is also the numeric vibration of quality. So could very much be a good time to use that energy to boost up that channel and the work that is coming not just from Quality's channel, but from all of us working together and that have been connected through Quality's channel. So, oh no, Josh, I was looking. I was looking for those numbers. But if we get them, I'll definitely go through them. All I need is the dates that were used in the theory and the songs or the albums. So then we can look at all of those vibrations. Yeah, so that's definitely something we could look at. All right, let me go back to this. Oh my gosh, I pasted all that stuff in here and now I can't find my list. It can't be that far. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Found it. So this is Sunspot 4366. So we'll be talking about that some more in the coming week or so. Okay. So I'm trying to decide. You guys tell me. Do we want to go over the numbers we already looked at, like the vibrations we already looked at for the fall off, or do you want me to just go straight into describing the vibrations as I saw them while listening to the fall off and then just refer to past numbers? You tell me. I'm going to get some water while you let me know. Start with new stuff or start with old stuff? Oh my goodness, a high of 38 is good. That's a little crazy. 38 is a very interesting number though. Didn't that come up yesterday? Okay. Yeah, I'll just jump in and describe. Thanks, Josh. Alrighty then. So, I usually have to preface, give you just a little bit of information. So, when, okay, thanks, Judy. We'll start with new stuff. So, when I look at the vibrations of music, well, really, to back up even further. So, we know that everything is energy, and all energy is made up of vibrations. And the difference is what vibrations are together. So we have a couple of different things. We have the vibrations themselves, which here we represent as all the different numbers. So each individual vibration is an individual number. But it's also how those vibrations are woven together. So it's the weave of them. So if you think about different, like different blankets or different clothing, how some of the weaves are very tight together, like the threads are woven very tightly, and then there's others where the way they're woven together can be looser, and then they could be woven in patterns. Also, thinking about for anybody that has ever sewn or seen on a sewing machine, how you can choose all the different like sewing patterns, where it's like we could make the zigzag, we can do cross stitching. There's all those different kinds of stitches. That's the weave of how are these vibrations being brought together. And then the last thing is how are these vibrations moving? So it's the movement. And there's a movement of the woven vibrations themselves, but then each of the vibrations also has movement. So even like when we think about like a note, and that note can have its wave of it's that's what like an individual vibration looks like. But then the weave, it would be like I think we're all old enough to remember. Maybe they still do it. And when you'd have in gym class where you would play with the parachute and you'd woo like make it go up, or you'd make it like shake it so that it's like making waves across the parachute in gym class. That was like the best day. We used to get so excited when we go into the gym and see the parachute. It'd be great. It would be great. Hi, Rumple. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. Oh my gosh, you did. Of course it's called tapestry. Of course it is. And I actually was going to use that word, but it sounded too formal. But I usually describe the vibrations woven together as a tapestry, because then you could see the different patterns, and you like choose the different colors, and you can make yeah, look like you can make those tapestries that go on the wall look very different. So these are the three things that I look at when I'm looking at the vibrations or the energy of anything. This is for people, it's, for music, any of that. And so when I actually prefer to listen to live music, and it's because it's the vibrations are stronger in live music. Whenever we use machines for anything, they all have like a hum. So like when you have like the lights and usually it's the industrial lights, um, but they have a weird hum to them. It's actually all electricity and all electronics that have that hum. And so I can hear that hum within the music as well. And so I prefer to be able to listen to music live because it's getting closer to those pure vibrations. But all music is lovely. I like listening to music so much because the vibrations are so cool. But what happens is, so first we have, what are the vibrations? And so you have the vibrations of like the artists themselves. And this tends to be three different things. It's their life path number, vibration, it's their name, and this is usually their artist name that resonates stronger because they're in that persona. And then it's actually their like the way they say the words is how they are contributing to the vibrations. So I don't know what that would be called. What is that called? Their enunciation? I don't know. But it's like how they say it. How say. That's what we're going to put. So we have these vibrations that are coming from the artist. We then also have the vibrations that are coming from the music itself. So we can hear, so in like the music, we have the vibrations of like the beat, but also of the instruments. Here we would also have the vibrations of like, we also have the vibrations of the producer because they're contributing their vibrations as they're putting this music together. So those are in there as well. And then we have, and we'll just keep it to three because it's actually a lot. It's a long old list. But then we also have from any of the equipment used. But this is also like the environment of where it was recorded, and also who else is in the room. So like witnesses, because they contribute. So this is why I said I had to listen to I had to listen to the fall off again after listening to it with everybody, because I really enjoy listening to music with other people also, because I can see how those vibrations are working together and how they're intermingling. I can tell usually pretty quickly who's going to be annoyed and who's going to like different songs because of the way the vibrations move together. But even if there's just somebody in the room as they're making the music, they, because they are there and they're putting their imprint on the music, they are included in that weaving. So then we have these vibrations, and then we have how these are woven together. And I guess, we probably have to have its own section, because the words themselves, the lyrics aren't just from the artist. They probably are their own thing. So we'll put those here. So then what happens is then we have the weave of how are these woven together. So how do we take like the thread of the lyrics, the vibration thread of the artist, the vibration thread of the music, and the vibrations of this equipment, the environment, and how do we weave them together. And so typically, what I look at is, are they woven together very tightly? And you can probably hear this in a lot of music. When the vibrations are woven together tightly, it's harder to separate them out. So when you have the music where you say, you know what, the beat is really good. I really like the beat. I really like the sample, but I don't like the other parts. When you can separate it out that way very easily, it's usually because those vibrations have a looser weave. They're not tightly bound together. When it's more of a, man, this goes together so well that you almost don't remember that a sample was even used, or that this song like existed in any other form. That's when the weaving is super tight. They're tightly woven together. They're very much vibrating together and making a tighter weave. If you have stuff where it's like, oh my gosh, if they just took that cymbal out, it would be so much better. Or like, that cymbal is hitting me weird in my head or something. That's typically because those vibrations aren't woven together. And then people that are within like the music industry that are experts in their field of doing these things, of like weaving these vibrations together, they're going to pick up on the tightness or the looseness of this weave much quicker. So that's why the experts would be like, oh, I can hear the drums and I can hear the horn and I can hear, because they're an expert at picking apart the weave of these different musics and these different songs. When you have AI music, it changes this part. It like amplifies this equipment vibrations. That's why it sounds so different. That's why even if you take an artist's voice, because now it's not the artist, it's not coming from the artist, those vibrations aren't coming from the artist, it's coming from the equipment. So that's why it could be like sound dead on as far as their voice, but something just feels different. It's because you're shifting where those vibrations are being generated from. So when it's AI, now these artist vibrations are just coming through the equipment. You're not really getting their life path or even their name. And you can have some of their inflections, but it wouldn't be the same, because these inflections are related usually to their emotions. And we know AI doesn't have the emotion. So typically you can hear the difference between AI music and non-AI music when you're looking at what vibrations are being contributed and how they're woven together. All right, so then the movement. So the movement of these vibrations, this is how these vibrations are transferred to us. So this really, it's in the movement of how we receive both the vibrations individually, but also the weave. So this is like receiving or delivering, whichever way you want to look at it. So this is in like the movement has a lot to do with the transfer of that. And so when you have and we've talked about this, where when you have songs that can hit you in different ways. So here you are, the listener. Oh no, how'd you get a dent in your head? Let's fix that. Let's fix that. We don't need no dented head. Oh no, it's worse. Okay, I guess that's a little bit better. Better enough. Okay, we're just gonna pretend that it's good. That's just Bieber hair. Here, let's make it hair. Okay, there we go. I don't know why I picked that color. Let's put some red in there. All right, there you go. Now you got fancy hair. Not a dent in your head. My bad. Okay. I got off track. So, when you have this music coming in, oh no, stop. Stop it. It is spaghetti hair with sauce. You like spaghetti, don't you? So when you have music that's coming in, the way that that music moves, so how it's woven together and how it moves, it can hit you in your head, whether it's dented or not, where it's impacting your mind. It can also impact your heart or your emotions. And these are really the two major ones. Like it makes you think. Also in the mind, it can bring up memories. So especially if it's like using a sample and it's bringing up memories for you, that would also be in the mind. It could be in the heart, and the heart holds memories also. And so as this music vibrations are coming in, it's hitting you usually in one of these two places. And this is usually how we can scale. This is like, oh, I feel this song, or I like this, or I don't like that. And we can usually talk about, oh, I like how it makes me think, or I like how it makes me feel, or I like the memories that it brings up for me. So it's usually one or the other of these. But then another level would be, so it's like lowest level is if it's mind or heart. Then a level above that would be like mind and heart. And then the top level is, and you have to hit, the music will have to hit you both in your mind and in your heart in order to actually impact you in your soul. And so then this top, so this is like the lowest. And then the highest would be that it's impacting you. The vibrations are impacting you in your mind, your heart, and in your soul. And a lot of times, what I can see as the listener, when I can, and there's very rare music, but I have seen it. There is music that can go straight to your soul. It looks like this. It like comes in through the top of your head and just hits you right in the soul. Um, and this is more like what somebody would call like an activation. This is like, I don't know why this song is making me feel this way, but it's like making me feel some type of way. And that would be like the very, very top where it's straight to soul. Those are very, very rare to see that type of music. Oh, guy looks funny. All kinds of jacked up. Yeah, yeah, Rumpel, exactly. Exactly. The producer, the engineer, yeah, they have a lot to contribute to the vibrations. And I think we see that where we can have like an artist that is like amazing and everybody likes him or her, and then see like, but I just don't like that song. And a lot of the times it is because of that contribution of the producer or the engineer. Mm-hmm. So the artist is very important, but yeah, any of the human elements are contributing way more vibrations than anything else. So any of the human elements involved. So that's why also like having features is impacts those vibrations also. Yes, Josh. Yeah, or at least if you're going to use different producers and engineers, be very intentional about it. Like, recognize how having a different producer or engineer is going to change the vibrations of the different songs. And if it still fits in your theme of your album, then great. If it's still conveying the vibrations that you're trying to put through, but I don't think anybody thinks about that intentionally. But we've talked about how we are supposed to be getting to a point where all of us, regardless of our station in life, we're supposed to be getting to a place where we are. Oh, I was going to drink water, but then I started on a tangent. We'll put that there. We're getting to this point where you can't do things unintentionally anymore because it becomes very obvious. So you have to be in awareness. And this awareness is your own vibrations, but it's also how outside vibrations impact you. So, how you impact vibrations outside of you, but also how outside vibrations impact you. So you have to be in this place of awareness. This is also like what we talked about yesterday, where it's that know thyself and expand your perspective by expanding your experiences. That would be the outside vibrations. So we have to get to this place of awareness. So then from that place of awareness, now we can be intentional. And I think for hip hop in particular, that this is a big thing that's happening in this shift. Because remember, the hip hop is shifting in a lot of different ways. But one of the biggest ways that we talk about here is how it's shifting out of a position of trying to build up its power, having its identity tested to build up its power, into moving into wisdom, where it is intentionally sharing its identity to build its legacy. That's very intentional. And we can see when it's not intentional. So when we have the discussions of not being authentic, not being true to who you are, that's awareness. Authenticity is part of the awareness. if you know yourself, you know your vibrations, you know how outside vibrations impact you and how your vibrations impact others, now you can be in this authenticity. You could be more intentional about how you are putting those vibrations together and weaving them and sending them out into the world. Because now it's about legacy. It's not just about, being, it's not even really about having the biggest numbers or doing all of these extra things. It's about what is the legacy that you're building. And legacy comes from the impact of others. How is you and your art impacting others? And to really have an impact, you have to be intentional. So I think this is coming back to these conversations we've been having about being authentic and being true to yourself and coming across as your true self. Because we have everybody feeling these vibrations so differently now, that more and more people are able to pinpoint when you're not authentic. Because when you're not authentic, you're not giving us like your true core vibration. So you're not giving us your life path number. You're not giving us the vibrations of your name, your identity, even if it's just your artist name, of that identity. You're not giving us the core vibrations of the emotions that you're putting into it. You're just saying it and not being intentional about how you're saying it. And that's actually a good place to then let's talk about J. Cole and the fall off. All right, I gotta get some water, so I'll catch up in chat. You can let me know what you are thinking so far, if you have any questions so far, while I get some water. And we'll talk about these vibrations specifically. Yes, and we have to talk about squishy because that is the best word I found to describe it. Yes, Rumple. I like that thinking of like they should understand like music theory, but also have a real diversity of because that's where when you have something pulled from like a different culture that's pulled in, it man, it changes things. So funny. Okay, I'm gonna go over here because I think I want to. For those of you that weren't here, I did go and I pulled all of these numbers from when we calculated them before, so we wouldn't have to calculate them again. So I think let's do this. Let's copy this part. Alright, let's get this part. Yes, well, we could grab this too. we'll start here. Whoop. All right, I'm gonna push this down here and we'll put this up here. I more just need it for reference. So what we already looked at is that J. Cole's artist name of J. Cole is 45, and then his life path number is 52. Oh my gosh, I hate it. Oh, why does that? So let's put this here. So for J. Cole himself, the vibrations that he was contributing was his name, which was 45, plus his life path number of 52, which gave us that 97. Also, we do have some. So the album title only resonates strongly throughout all the songs when it is a main theme throughout. When it's not a main theme throughout, then it's a weaker vibrational signal. But I did want to put it here because it's 91. And so what we were starting with was this 97 plus 91, which gives us 188. When I was listening to throughout the song, so I first think it's very interesting that these are the vibrations we were starting with, and we have 2 discs here. Disc 1 and disc 2. And you almost have to get through everything before you're able to really know what was the new parts. It was like you couldn't just listen to one part or another. It just kept because some of it was like, oh, this kind of feels like old. This could be new, but maybe, and then you'd hear another one. It's like, well, maybe this is newer. That's just kind of what I was experiencing just as a music listener. So let me see what you say. You know what? You're right. Let's look at that too. Oh, that's hilarious. So let's look at J Fold. Cause yeah, that vibration is definitely out there. Being used, being said, making its contribution. So if we use our little chart where we have A equals 1 all the way to Z equals 26, keeping our 2-digit numbers. J is 10, F is 6, O is 15, L is 12, and D is 4. And so we get this infamous number that we keep seeing everywhere, 47. Now remember, 47 is the numeric vibration of the word time, but also this is one of those 11 to 2 vibrations. So it's pointing out the vibrations, and it's bringing to the forefront these vibrations of duality or division. So where J. Cole, really, this name is meant to bring an ending to how things are done, the way things are seen, and it's contributing to the shift, because the 9 is a shift also. Here, J Fold is more contributing to these vibrations of duality and division. Yeah. Being conflicted is definitely duality, going back and forth, flip flopping. That is duality. It's contributing to this division. Whether this is a division within an individual, or between individuals, or between an individual and groups, or between groups. Because the way time works, time stretches experiences out so that we can see the division of the steps in the lessons to be learned. Here, this 47 is making clear the divisions that are happening, to where we have polarization, or we have this duality being created that needs to be brought to an end, because that's actually the 2. So this 11 really wants to get to the 2. It really wants to end. So that's interesting also. And if we were to substitute 47 in for this 45, now this, so if we add 2 here, now this goes to that 190, which is the mirror image of 91. 91 is the numerical vibration of the word mirror. Then 91 would be the mirror image of this 190. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Because then we also would end up with this 11 again here in the middle, where we write it this way. Now it's this energy of God or the universe, this higher power vibrations that we don't have control over, and it's enhancing the need for there to be an ending or a shifting of energy. And this ending or shifting of energy is needs to happen around this duality, because these 2 9s will create this portal. So this end, or the shifting of energy, remembering also that 99 is the numerical vibration of the word ascension, so the raising of vibration, but it's also the numeric vibration of the word judgment. So that's where this duality is coming into play. Are you ascending? Are you raising the vibration? Or are you causing further division and judgment? Yes, Josh. Whenever you have the 0 in this position, It enhances anything that comes to the left of it. It amplifies it. It's like God is saying this must happen. So having that 0, especially in this position, is actually a very big deal. Because it is saying that this higher power is really pushing for, it's pumping energy in to this ending or shifting so something new can come into play. It's like, just get it over with and end it already, so then we can actually get into this new vibration. Because if you think about it, this place of judgment that would cause the division, this is like the old, and actually raising the vibration would be the new. But you can't move from that old vibration to that new vibration without recognizing what the duality is, or the division that's being created, what it actually is, and working to end it. And we just talked about how you would actually do that, where you'd have to first be in awareness, where you have to understand that the division or the duality is even there. So then you can be intentional about how you're going to end that division or duality and raise your vibration into ascension. So yeah, this is actually very much what I was seeing when I was listening to the album. Because what was happening was the vibrations were coming in, and they were forming what looked like, and I'm not going to be able to draw this, so forgive me. But it was like creating like this straw. And what was so interesting is because a lot of times the way that I see the vibrations of the different songs within the album, it's like the album is the container that holds these vibrations and allows them to weave together. You usually see it where all of the songs are weaving the vibrations a little bit differently, but they're all contributing to the overall movement and weave of the album as a whole. Here it was like each song had its own set of vibrations. It had its own set of weaving that weren't contributing to or connecting with the others. So instead of it being that, usually it's more like Legos, where it's like, okay, here's an individual song contribution. Here's this individual song contribution. But they stack together and they work together to like build something bigger. That's usually how I see it. This is not what I saw. It does look like a bobby pin. But what I saw, it was more like a straw. And so then what happened is, as we were adding more songs, it more turned the album into, it was more porous. So the weaving was farther together. It was more hollow. There were more spaces in there. And so it was more like a sponge. And that's why I described it as like squishy. Because it wasn't, they weren't weaving together. And it was missing. So typically also what I see is how the music is woven together is you have like your core vibrations, which could be like the artist, and then it's like the beat, and then it's like, you know, where the producer is, and those become the core. And then the other vibrations like weave around that core. Here, there was no core. Josh, stop it. You're not wrong though. But it was like the core was empty. And so what was happening, because I listened to the whole album in a couple of different groups and with a couple of different people, and then on my own. And what was happening is the it was the listener, whether they were a fan or not, it was the listener that was having to fill this core up. So it was um like if the vibrations were hitting, like the music vibrations were hitting in the head, it was like the head was immediately going and making assumptions. It wasn't able to like start thinking about what it was being told. It was making assumptions to fill that space. If it was hitting in the heart space, then it was immediately having to use like our own emotions, our own emotional memories to fill that space. And I don't usually see that because typically what it is that people identify and connect with different artists because of this core that's in the middle of all of their songs, because it's just like our core vibrations. It's at the core of who we are, the core of our identity. So with these like straws, it was almost like none of the songs had a solid identity, and that's why it came across to me as squishy. Squishy, because it was so porous that it required a lot more outside vibrations to hold it together. So then it wouldn't be a surprise of somebody that really um, is a fan of J. Cole and really likes his music, they would be able to fill in those gaps with the things that they already like. And I did go back and I listened to some of his older music, and this is not the case. In his older music, it could sound very similar, but it had that core. It had the core of the music and the songs. It was like the core was missing here. So if somebody is a fan of J. Cole, it sounded very similar. And so then they were able to take what they have liked previously to fill that middle part of the straw. If somebody did not like J. Cole previously, then it was harder to fill that space and it just felt more empty. If there was somebody where, like me, where I would go and I just like to listen to it and just like pay attention kind of from a neutral position, then it was very apparent where those spaces were, like the gaps were. In disc 2, a lot of the features or even like the samples that were used, those were there to try and fill that core vibration. but it still was coming through as squishy because it was like secondhand. It was secondhand vibrations. That's what a sample usually is. Is it's just like a secondhand vibrations. Um, so it was like these samples and the features, the vibrations from the featured artist were trying to fill that core. But that's not what's supposed to be at the core of any of the music. It's supposed to be the artist. So let's look at squishy, and then I'm going to show you one other thing that I was seeing. I'll try and draw it. So squishy is 19 plus 17 plus 21 plus 9 plus 19 plus H, which is 8, plus 25. Okay, so squishy is 118. And so here we have again that 8. And we talked about this a lot when we were first looking at the vibrations at the time of the announcement. That this 8, which is that reap what you sow energy or this karmic energy, it was very much like needing to face this. This energy was coming back around and it needed to be faced. It had to be faced head on, especially because just the title, the fall off, was giving off that vibration of 91, which is the mirror. And so having to face the reflection in the mirror, replace, like really face the reflection of the energy that you already put out there that was coming back around. And needing to do that in order to really face this duality or this division so that you could get to a place where it's ended. Get to that too. So that makes a lot of sense why it would feel this way. Also, this 118 is the numerical vibration of the word or the phrase the storm. So this feeling of having these empty cores and having it be more like a sponge and kind of squishy could also very much feel like it's just the storm sweeping through, which is very interesting in that these are the same vibrations that we've been getting from the solar system as we have these solar flares that are coming in, these movement of planets that are coming in and that are impacting our weather. So these vibrations are very much moving in a similar manner. Oh, I love that. So let me show you one other thing, and then we'll look at what, and I think this will fit into what you were saying, Josh, about the New York versus Fayetteville. So what was happening, how I was seeing this, is the vibrations movement was very much in like this figure 8, but not in like a really powerful way. It was more like one side is old and one is new. One is like authentic and one is like fake. This, I think, fits what you were noticing, Josh, where it's like one side of here is Queens, one side of here is Fayetteville. And it was just this like back and forth. It was like this swaying back and forth. And so then we get this 8 again coming up. So it was like these straws laid next to each other, and the movement of it was like this back and forth, which is very much that 11, that feeling of 11 and the division or the duality. Like back and forth. Like, are you a tough guy talking about guns, or are you not? Are you a gangster, or are you not? Are you, like, and the thing is those parts of identity can exist together. There are other artists where we've seen that they are able to be both. Like, we even saw it like with Clipse, and in their album, they move between those parts of our identity very easily. But it was all authentic. It all had the core and their core vibrations of who they were. That's the difference. This movement was very much of like back and forth one way or another, and not just the core identity of who he was and what he was trying to convey and bring across. It's like, are you the old Cole, or are you the new Cole? And what is the new Cole? Oh wait, the new Cole is the old Cole, or what's happening here? It was just like this, instead of bringing those identities together of who you were before, who you are after, being authentic in what that is, facing what caused that division. Because everybody knows that what caused that division in your identity was you making the decision to step out of the beef. Okay, it happened. But you have to bring those two parts of your identity together to fill that core again, to have a stronger core. Yeah, but that actually, you're right, Rumpel. That is part of what we see with children that are mixed race or mixed culture, that it could be this back and forth, but it's still possible to bring those parts of your identity together. And at a certain part in life, you have to figure out how to be able to bring those together. Because it's authentic to who you are. Yeah. Yes, Josh. Yeah, it was very much that back and forth. And I think it was that back and forth movement, plus having those the weaving of the vibrations be more like a straw, where it was missing that authentic core, is how we got to Squishy. I think that's how we got to Squishy, honestly. Yeah. So what else? What else do you think we should talk about, or we should add? But this was very interesting for me to be able to look at those vibrations and see what they were actually doing and how they were weaving together. Um, was very interesting. Yes, yes, Rumpel. Well, and I think, like we've talked about before, so what I think also is, we know that, oh, I gotta draw this whole thing. It's okay because I don't think I have the thing open. So if we have our core vibrations, we have this time in life where it's our youth. So from 0 until age 27. And this is when you're building your identity. And then we have here where we have this power, which is from 27 to 54, age 54. And this is both, so both J. Cole as an artist and hip hop. Hip hop's almost done because hip hop's like right here, 52. But both J. Cole as an artist and hip hop are in this power phase. This power phase of life from age 27 to 54. This is when your identity is tested. And through the testing of your identity, this is also where your identity is strengthened. So it's not surprising that he would be faced with these events that and experiences in life that could cause him to go back and forth in trying to figure out who he is, because this is a testing of that identity. And he's still young enough where he could still figure it out. He's still in this power phase. Hip hop is getting ready to move into this wisdom phase, and that's probably why it's not as forgiving to a lot of these young artists that are in youth or in power. I think that's probably why hip hop isn't as forgiving as it used to be, because hip hop's about to move into wisdom where this is legacy building. This is now using your identity for legacy. So it's seeing your identity as a place of wisdom and beginning to use legacy in your impact on others. So it seems like hip hop is very much starting to make this shift into not being as forgiving for not really stepping into your identity and being authentic with who you are and authentic for what you're saying, what you're presenting to the world. Because in this wisdom phase, where the identity of hip hop is creating the legacy of hip hop, like the authenticity is going to be very important. Yes, Rumpel, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that's exactly what we're witnessing, is that he wants the best of these both of these worlds, but not being able to figure out the middle. And of course your music would show that, because your music is your art form for the expression of that identity. But I think that's happening to a lot of artists. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's interesting, like, if we go through and we look at how many artists, because we have a lot of artists that have come in to the industry in their youth. So if they enter here in their youth where they're building their identity and they're building their artist identity in youth, that would be very easy to do because that's what you're doing in youth. But as soon as you get to power, now your identity is being tested. So it would be interesting to see, of all those different artists, whichever is their bad album, which did those occur in this power phase, especially right here as you're turning the corner. So like 27 to like 36. This is a huge transition. of going, like, you're not able to just test things out, trial and error, and build your identity anymore. Now you're actually being asked if your identity is authentic. And we've also seen where artists have come in and they have, like, become the character. And it's when they become the character, and we see this with a lot of, like, child actors also, when they become the character so much where they've built up the identity of the artist more than they've built up the identity of themselves as an individual. And when they get to this testing of the identity, now it's both identities that are being tested. Both this artist identity, which is not authentic, and also their individual personal identity, which hasn't been built. And that can mess you up big time. Yeah. But we can also look at our own lives and see where you make this turn. And there are a few people where they are able to build their identity of who they are so soundly that this transition it's always hard for everybody. But it may not be as hard. Or it may come later, because that's also why you have right here 36 to like 45 is where you have like a midlife crisis. That's why it's called that. Like, who the heck are you? Ew, this looks horrible. But yeah, I think a lot of what we were seeing is witnessing that testing of identity. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly, Rumpel. And a lot of the times when they're celebrities, especially at a younger age, they're now getting it's both of those identities that are tested. It's not just their individual identities like for the rest of us commoners, but it's also the identity of who they are as an artist, whether that's music or acting or any of that. They're being both of those identities are tested. And if it's hard enough to have one identity tested, I can't imagine there being two. Or with there's people that are like they have an artist persona in acting and a different artist persona in music, and then they're individual, like, whew, I'd expect them to fall off. Pun intended. It's also interesting to think about that for a lot of there's several of our greats in hip hop that never even made it to this transition. Because both Tupac and Biggie, they passed away here before even coming into this transition. So we don't even know how their identity could have been tested or changed. Any of these really young hip hop artists that have been passing away recently that are extremely young and are still in this youth phase, we don't know how they would have changed as they came into this power phase. And like I said, I think because hip hop is shifting into this place of wisdom, it and this shift out of power into wisdom for hip hop is happening in 2027. So we're coming up really close to it. I think that's making hip hop not be as forgiving or as understanding. Like that whole generational gaps thing. Like we went through it and we were survived. Why can't you? Yes. Yes. Yes, exactly, Rumple. Oh, absolutely. The fans and the onlookers, the witnesses are absolutely a big part of the problem. And that's why, let me see if I can find it. Oh, look, I found it quick. That's why it's so important to be able to get to a place of awareness. Because, yes, it's going to be more extreme for an artist or an actor, but we also are going through this as well. And it's really important to understand what are those outside vibrations. How are we impacting those that are outside of us, and how are they impacting us? How are these experiences changing our perspective? Because how's our perspective changes, it changes our vantage point of the truth. And if you only have a small part of the truth to work with, it's harder to be intentional, or your intentions aren't as strong. They can be squishy or wishy washy. So it's definitely a time to step into this awareness and know thyself all around. But also giving people grace. Because it's much easier to look outside of ourselves than it is to look within ourselves. So as we are looking at these different artists and what they're enduring, we should also be using that as lessons for ourselves. Easier said than done, though. Absolutely, absolutely, Rumple. Exactly, exactly. That we have to be as outsiders looking in. So, because this outside vibrations, this is understanding how outside vibrations impact us, but also how we impact any vibrations outside of us, which include other people. So that definitely is part of the awareness. It's knowing yourself and your own vibrations, but also knowing how any of these outside vibrations, other people, where you live, what's happening in like political social settings, how all of that is impacting you, but also how you're contributing to the vibrations and the impact outwards, and not just to other people, but to other events and experiences that are being had by a lot of different people. How are you contributing to some of these systems of oppression? How are you contributing to any of these movements that are trying to bring change? Absolutely. Absolutely. Woo! This was good. Anybody got questions? Oh, no, we can't judge other people's awareness. We can't judge other people's level of awareness. Absolutely not. We can just know what we observe, and looking at what we observe through our own lens. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're right, Rumple. So we ready to spin our wheel? Get our vibration for this week? I think this is going to be coming up a lot more, especially this awareness, especially our awareness in relation to like perspective and truth, and then how to be intentional is absolutely going to keep coming up. Okay, let's spin our wheel. Okay, let me find an empty space somewhere. Oh, come on. Are you bringing the prizes, Rumpel? If you're bringing the prizes, great. Let's do it. Let me know what prizes you're bringing to the cookout. All right, let me go find our wheel. Aha, I found it. All right, we ready? Oops. All right, here we go. Let's spin our wheel. Ready? Here we go. Spin that wheel. Is it spinning? Oh, yeah, it's spinning. Woohoo! Seriously? Well, okay. So we just talked about yesterday. We just talked about yesterday, 525. And now our wonderful wheel of magical vibrations has given us 595. When we add these up, we once again get to this 19, which gives us a 10 to a 1. So anybody that hasn't heard me say this before, we spin this wheel so that we can get a vibration to look out for throughout the week. So we want to look for these specific vibrations, but also the themes of these vibrations. So we've already talked about this 19, where this 19 is coming in very much around needing to end or shift some kind of cycle, some kind of energy, so that new energy can come in. And right now, especially because all this year in 2026, we have a ton of new energy coming in to our spaces. And we want to be able to use that new energy and take advantage of that new energy to be able to build the lives that we want to be living. But we have to make sure that things are ending or shifting, especially if there are things that should have ended or shifted last year. I'm noticing that the universe really does not like that we are bringing into 2026 these things that should have ended in 2025 that we're dragging out, because we have this new energy, we have these blessings that are waiting for us, and we just can't get them because we haven't made room. The way you make room is to get things to end. Allow things to end. We also have, let's see, we also have a portal number here where these 2 5s, because they are the same vibration, they want to be near each other. And so then they're creating this portal. They're making this spin. And so then this is bringing forth this 9. So here again is this energy of needing something to end or shift. 5 is change, but here it's really about, because 55 is the numeric vibration of the word karmic. So 55 is karmic change. So it's these cycles that are just keep coming around and repeating. And the universe is like, can you just end these already so we can make space and room for all of these new blessings, these new ways of thinking, these new ways of doing things? Because that's what's wanted to come in. And so this 595 is this portal of karmic energy, this energy that keeps coming back around, trying to get change to happen. Because both of these 5s are change, vibration of change. And this change needs to happen so this ending or this shifting can occur. So that's what we'll look out for. We can't really get a time out of this. So this will be very much looking for these numbers. And as we are building up that awareness of the vibrations outside of us, and when we're encountering these vibrations, then that'll help us to build our awareness of our own vibrations so that we can be intentional in what we're trying to manifest. So this was a good live. This was fun. What you guys talking about? What are you talking about? I just looked over to the chat. You all are funny. Yes, the word of the day of the week is intentional. Intentional awareness. There we go. Thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. Another great conversation. So I will be back live next on Wednesday on Twitch. That's when I do my silent lives where you can just watch me work. Watch me follow a vibration to get a vibrational message or story. But then here on YouTube, I'll definitely be back on Friday. And then Saturday again. I know, Rumpel, I know. I just can't help it. You know, I've got those teacher and mother side eyes. So I always am looking. Thank you so much for being here. If you did not hit the like button on your way in, please hit it on the way out. And I will see you all very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.